Hi guys, this is Sean with Scale RC Engines, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Eflite T-28 Trojan. This is the 1.2 meter wingspan version with retracts, flaps, and all your normal goodies. This model comes with a dummy rotary from the factory. As you can see, it's just a thin piece of plastic mounted with 4 screws around your brushless motor. We're going to be replacing that today with our Wright 1820 Cyclone engine. This is going to be a direct fit into the T-28. You're not going to need to modify anything. You're simply going to need to take 4 screws out and glue it in with some 5 or 30 minute epoxy. This has a nice flat back on it, which is going to easily adhere to the ring that I'll show you shortly inside the cowl. And we separate the hub on the front in case you want to do some more detail by adding wires for spark plugs and whatnot. Alright, let's get right into it. Alright guys, first step obviously is going to be we're going to take our prop off. So we're simply going to remove the nut on the front of the airplane, remove our prop, and then with our small Phillips head screwdriver you'll see 4 screws around the corners. Go ahead and take those out. Don't worry if you lose any, we're not going to be using them for the next step. So loosen them up like so. And go ahead and pull out the current model. All right. The next step is going to be, we're going to take our new engine and we're going to glue on our prop up. Now, before you do this step, if you want to do any of that detailing I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the time to do it. All right, so you can go ahead and use standard medium gap filling CA for this step. It's not going to hurt the finish. And all we're going to do is we're going to put a couple drops on this flat rim all the way around, like so. We're then going to line up this notch with the one at the top, centering up our hub on the engine the best we can. All right, and then apply a little kicker. Don't worry, this will not affect the finish in any way. Give it a second to dry. And now we're going to move on to the back. So as you see, there is a flat ring all the way around the inner cowl of this airplane. This is what we're going to be gluing to. So keep in mind you don't need to add any glue at the top here. So what I like to do is I'm going to take my 5 minute epoxy. Make a couple lines. That's more than we're going to need. Then I'm going to take my stir stick and mix that up so it starts to set up. Remember guys to thoroughly stir your epoxies together. That should be good enough for this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to locate the top of the engine, which is going to have this piece on it. Remember, this is going to be at your 6 o'clock position. So with that orientation in mind, you'll also note that this gap is going to be at your 12 o'clock position. So we're going to go around and I'm going to apply some epoxy to the top of each cylinder head, like so. What I like to do is I like to put the blob on the flat spot and then work it towards the fin so we don't have any glue marks. We're using just 5 minutes, so we want to work a little quickly just because this stuff does set up pretty fast. And, oop, missed that top one. And that was on purpose. So what we're also going to do, so we're not worrying about the 12 o'clock one because that's going to be in the gap. What I like to do, I'm going to leave one of them exposed for a reason. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my CA, I'm going to put a couple drops on it. Well, a heavy drop on it, I should say. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that CA to tack this motor in place. So take a look, we have our epoxy. We're going to turn it around, make sure that we are centered around our motor. Remember that we have that one up at the top there. We're going to give that one a kick to tack us in place. Center up around the prop hub you see on the front here. And hold. Now, at this point, once that's tacked up, oh, it's not tacking up too well. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this position for a few minutes, and we'll get back to you then. Alright guys, figured out the problem there. I'd sprayed on this cylinder and I was supposed to spray on this one. Simple enough, we just held it for 5 minutes. While you're waiting for your epoxy to dry, I want you to note the gap around the middle of this. Don't be afraid to free spin this as you hold the motor in place for the 5 minute epoxy to set up. Because what's going to happen is your motor from the factory is going to tip down and to the right to account for P factor. And so what that means is this upper edge is always going to stick out a little further than this lower edge because the whole motor is kicked. So to account for that, you're probably going to end up with this to the right and up slightly. But again, while that 5 minute epoxy is setting up, don't feel free to move it around, keep spinning your motor until it sets up nicely like this has. And once that's complete, go ahead and take your prop, put it back up, screw your prop nut on, take your screwdriver and torque that down. Right, I'll have to do that later. Go ahead and torque that down with your normal tool and admire your new Scale RC Enignes Radial. And tell me that doesn't look better than what comes with it. Available now on the website. Feel free to contact us on any of our social medias or by email if you need help installing. Have fun flying out there, guys. See ya.